Once upon a time, two fierce competitors, each based in different countries, spotted the opportunities emerging in Web3 and launched their ventures almost simultaneously. But as the crypto winter set in, both startups faced tough challenges. They made a bold decision to join forces. This isn't a fictional story. In today's episode, I sit down with Dr. Sam Sell, chairman of Kaia DLT Foundation, to dive into this real-life story of competition, cooperation, the future of Web3, and much more.
Welcome to another compelling episode of World Ledger with Coco Kee. This is your gateway to fresh global perspectives and insightful discussions. Whether you're a curious mind, a global citizen, or a lifelong learner, you're in the right place to discover how blockchain innovation is shaping the world beyond your borders. Everything on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It represents personal views and opinions and does not constitute investment or financial advice or recommendations.
Sam, it's such a pleasure to have you join me today. Please do a brief self-introduction to help audience get to know you. For example, what you did before Kaia and how you got into blockchain and Web3 industry.
First, thank you, Coco, for having me. It's my pleasure to be a guest of your podcast. Let me introduce myself to your audience. My name is Sam. I'm currently the chairman of Kaia Foundation. Kaia Foundation is for Kaia blockchain. Kaia blockchain is a public layer one that aims to bringing the massive users to achieve the mass adoption of Web3 and blockchain technology. So before working at Kaia, I was actually leading the Klaytn blockchain team, Klaytn Foundation. I joined Klaytn in 2018, so it's been a while for working at Klaytn and Kaia. So all my journey on the crypto and blockchain is all about Klaytn and Kaia. I never worked at other projects. Before joining blockchain, I was a computer scientist or a research engineer at Argonne National Laboratory in the US and Samsung Research in South Korea. I was mostly doing the research about high-performance computing and also AI computing. That was because I did PhD in computer science a long time ago. And then after getting my degree, I was continuing my research on different research institutes. It was 2017. My friend introduced me the blockchain and Bitcoin and so on. So I got into this world after understanding how Bitcoin works and what vision and what philosophy Bitcoin was pursuing. I was really fascinated. I started studying more and digging into different types of blockchains, different mechanisms, and different philosophies. In 2018, I joined the Klaytn team as a core engineer because my background was computer science and research engineering. But after that, my role was changed a lot, and now I'm leading the entire team.
Excellent. We've probably fell down rabbit hole at very similar time. I also got into this industry around 2016, 17, and fascinated about what I learned. Since Kaia came from the merge of Klaytn and Finschia, before we dive into Kaia, can you talk about why the two chains decided to merge?
As we mentioned, Kaia was born by two previous chains, Klaytn and Finschia. But if we look at the history of the previous chains, actually those two chains, Klaytn and Finschia, were started by messenger companies in different countries. Klaytn was started by Kakao in South Korea. By the way, Kakao is one of the largest IT company in South Korea, and their main product is KakaoTalk, number one and primary messenger super app in South Korea. Most Koreans are using KakaoTalk for messaging, banking, content, and so on. Kakao wanted to explore Web3 or blockchain, developing blockchain Klaytn, and that was 2018. On the other hand, Finschia was initiated by LINE in Japan. LINE is another messenger company, very popular and actually number one messenger in Japan. Most Japanese LINE for purpose messaging and other because LINE itself is also a super app, so it's more than messaging app. And also LINE is used in Taiwan and Thailand, so LINE is more nationalized, I would say, in terms of user distribution. LINE also wanted to start business in Web3. That's why they also started their blockchain, Finschia. It was 2018 as well. Two messenger companies in two different countries started the blockchain, but their goals were the same. They wanted to achieve the mass adoption of Web3 or blockchain technology through their platforms. They achieved mass adoption of messaging app in their countries. Looking at Web3 or blockchain, they also wanted to achieve the adoption of new technology through their platform. Their goals were almost the same, but their approaches were quite different. Klaytn was started as a public blockchain. Finschia was started as a private blockchain. Their way of approaching the mass adoption of Web3 different. Although the details about their two chains approach were different, the main strategy was the same. They were trying to utilize their existing channels like Kakao and LINE. After they spent 5 or 6 years separately, two teams realized that in 2023, the market situation was not that great, just like the current situation. Two teams, unfortunately, struggling in finding the way of success and moving forward. So Klaytn team and the Finschia team started discussion whether they can collaborate together. But in the end, they concluded that it's better to merge to pursue the same goal together instead of competing each other. That was the behind the story and the background. And again, because two teams, the similar DNA and the same goal of this business, it was a natural choice that they decided to merge.
Two questions for you. One is, did the two teams know each other before? Because how come they came up with similar ideas and were working on similar projects, but one is private, the other is public?
Actually, founders of two teams, I mean, not only about blockchain teams, but also the mother companies, Kakao and LINE, the chairman's founders, very close friends. If we look at the history of LINE, although it's a Japanese company, they were started by Korean company, one of the biggest IT companies in South Korea called Naver. Naver started LINE in Japan. Actually, Naver and Kakao are really competitors in South Korea because they are doing the IT business and many of their business areas overlapped in South Korea. Basically, Kakao and Naver, strong competitors in South Korea, means and LINE and Kakao are also competitors. So they knew each other very well and understood each other's business, including Web3 and blockchain business.
That explains. I got it. The second question is, for LINE and Kakao, which is similar to them? Facebook, WeChat, or Telegram?
They are close to WeChat, I would say, because WeChat has messaging, payment, mobility, and different services integrated inside the platform. So WeChat is more than just messaging. Telegram is trying to evolve, but Telegram itself is mostly focusing on messaging. They don't have other big services previously, but now they're trying to have more. Facebook is more or less just social network. Although they have Messenger now and others, Kakao and LINE are close to WeChat because their primary service is messaging. Apart from messaging, they provide different services inside the messenger. They also have some separate apps as well.
Kakao, LINE, and WeChat, they are similar in the way that they are a super app. They have all-in-one kind of solution. It's an Asia thing. After the merge, is Kaia more of Klaytn or Finschia when it comes to functionality? And also, what is the finalized goal or mission of Kaia?
The merge includes many different aspects because there were technical integrations, the ecosystem integration, and the organizational merge because there were two teams, two ecosystems, two different communities, and two different chains. If we look at the current Kaia, in terms of technology, it's close to Klaytn's technology. Klaytn was an EVM compatible chain, and Kaia is EVM compatible chain. So we inherited technology part from Klaytn, but we also implemented some features that were existing in Finschia. So We inherited actually kind of necessary technological components from two chains. To summarize, from the technology perspective, Kaia is close to Klaytn, but has features from Finschia. But for community and ecosystem, actually we merged two together. We have now bigger community and bigger ecosystem, but because technologies were different, we had to migrate most of services, applications from Finschia to Kaia because of the differences in technology. Finschia was based on the Cosmos technology. The last piece was about the merge in organizations. Previously, there were two foundations, and now we have one foundation, Kaia Foundation. Members in two foundations came to Kaia Foundation. We work as a single team now.
When it comes to the vision or objectives of Kaia after the merge, have you done any work to fine-tune or adjust?
The previous chains had the same goal, achieving mass adoption of Web3. Still, Kaia's mission is the same, but we fine-tuned our mission and vision. Still, we are pursuing the adoption or mass adoption of Web3, but in a way that the builders would be successful in their business on Kaia Chain. That means we are providing three pillars: asset, user, and technology to the builders so they can be successful in their business through Kaia and Kaia's ecosystem. So that's our fine-tuned mission and vision. Kaia should be that kind of environment that supports builders, and our core customers are builders. Make builders successful is our mission.
When it comes to the language, Kakao is a Korean platform. Finschia used to serve LINE users. The language could be Japanese. After the merge, how about the working language?
Actually, working language is English. Although our heritage was from LINE and Korean company and Japanese company, but our members are quite international. So we have Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and Vietnamese, and other, even Nigerian. We are using English as our working language and official language in the team. From the builder perspective and the community perspective, actually, we are trying to support as many languages as possible. For example, we have Korean community, Japanese community, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Thailand community. In those community channels, we use their local languages. We try to provide different language versions of content as well. So when we announce something, we provide English version, Korean, Japanese, and Chinese. So we try to provide at least 4 or 5 languages, different versions.
That's very typical for Web3 project.
Yeah.
Very global and multilingual. But the good thing is English can be the working language. Most people understand English. One more follow-up question. Can I assume that Kaia is more of the enterprise solution for Kakao and LINE, and all your projects will evolve mostly around these two parent companies?
There is actually perception like that, but the truth is Kaia is a public blockchain and open source project. We don't make our chain only for Kakao and LINE. It's actually for every builder and every users. What we are trying to do is, because we have Kakao and LINE as our channels, we are trying to provide distribution channels to our builders so they can reach more users very easily. But apart from that, the builder's environment is open to anyone. Anyone can build any services or any dApps on our chain. It's not only for Kakao and LINE. They are using our chain. The Kaia chain is open to any builder.
What kind of applications is Kaia focused on developing in the near term? All kinds of public chains out there, and some chains start to have some focus or expertise. What is Kaia's focus when it comes to application building?
That's a good question. The applications that we are focusing on differentiating Kaia from other chains, because we have Kakao and LINE as our different channels. We are targeting consumer apps. Those apps can target users from these two channels. Specifically, we have about 250 million active users across different Asian countries, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, and some other Southeast Asian countries. Consumer apps like a game or financial apps and content apps. These apps are our target because our user base is more interested and more easily understanding those kind of services. We introduced mini dApps and the dApp portal in the LINE Messenger early this year. The consumer applications that I mentioned are actually being onboarded to this environment so they can be exposed to the LINE users in different countries.
Can you give me some example of the consumer apps? Is it, for example, gaming, NFT, borrowing, lending, or DeFi trading? Are these considered consumer apps?
It depends on how the user interface or user experiences look like. For example, DeFi can be pure Web3 product, but if we design some DeFi applications as very user-friendly and very easy to use and very safe product, it could be consumer apps. We onboarded a lot of games, but we also cared about the quality of games. Instead of exposing tokens or NFT to the users, we reviewed the quality of games and how those games provide the fun factors to the user. That kind of curation or the enhanced UX UI makes those steps different from the pure Web3 apps. In terms of areas, games and DeFi and everything can be consumer app, but again, we care about the UI and UX and also difficulties of using those apps to be considered as consumer apps.
UI UX, it's a very interesting topic. I'll try to explore and discuss with my guests in the podcast. Why is the UI UX of Web3 being so difficult to most of the users? And what are the hurdles for Kaia? What have you done differently to make sure UI UX is more friendly to users?
I think the reason that the UI UX of Web3 services difficult for normal Web2 users or normal people is they emphasize technology and introduce difficult terms. They directly expose those difficulties to the users. For example, the private key and managing the wallets and so on. So this could be a hurdle for normal users. Our approach is, although the same technology is used underneath the product, we try to hide difficulties or complexity of this technology. For example, we don't expose private key to the user because there are already technologies that can actually help hiding that complexity. Also, we don't really try to introduce tokens or NFTs in the beginning, but we focus more on the content itself. Once users become familiar with the content and use those applications, we slowly introduce wallets, tokens, and NFTs, those kind of Web3 components. In that way, user has some time to understand and they have experience with the improved UI and UX. We embedded Kaia wallet inside the LINE's mini dApp portal. Users don't have to install separate wallets. They just enter the LINE Messenger and their portal, then they can create a wallet there. When they create a wallet, there is an option of having the private key itself that they can download. We also give the option of just setting the simple 6-digit password. You can set those kind of password there, or we give a simple, better option to the users by default.
As you mentioned, the private keys. And the second is gas fee. These are the two things that turned a lot of users off.
We developed a feature called fee delegation. With this fee delegation, service providers or the game developers, they can subsidize user gas fee. If application is using fee delegation feature, the user actually don't have to pay the gas fee. They can just interact with the blockchain without paying gas fee. Those gas fees are paid by the service provider. So we have that feature as a native function in our chain. This feature is used by many developers.
In that way, developers absorb gas fee. At the same time, they can build it in the price that they sell to users, right? So take out the complexity of the gas fee. It's the same, but just make it much easier for the users.
This is mostly for the users, but sometimes it helps developers because if they have to ask users to pay the gas fee, but that means there is a hurdle for the users to be onboarded to the service. By removing the gas fee payment, they help users to be onboarded easily. In that way, they can have more users. I would say the fee delegation feature is good for both users and developers.
You have users from Lime, from Kakao. How do you attract these Web2 users into Web3? What is your strategy?
Our strategy is to provide different economic opportunities to the users. Web3 is well known for having new opportunities or possibilities of a new economy or new currencies. With less complexity and less risk, we try to provide that kind of earning opportunities, new economical experience to the users so they can experience new things compared to the legacy financial systems or legacy games.
Since Kaia's launch, which region or country have you observed being the fastest growing ones?
We launched the mini dApps on LINE Messenger this January. We observed that users from Japan, Taiwan, and Thailand are major users. These three countries are the primary market countries for LINE. Similarly, Kaia Chain users are from these countries. Apart from this, also Korea and Indonesia and Vietnam and so on. But the major countries, I would just say Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Thailand, are major countries for our users. We are still trying to onboard more users from those countries. After launching the mini dApps, the onboarding speed and the growth rate became quite high.
Is it double digit or single digit growth rate?
It depends on how we think about the base. If we compare to the entire 200 million or 250 million, still we are in very early stage. But again, as an example of our mini dApp environment, during the last 3 months, we onboarded more than 6 or 7 million users.
That's quite
But
significant.
yeah, that's quite significant. But again, compared to 200 million users of LINE, is still single digit, 3 or 4% of the entire user.
Not bad at all.
I agree.
What is the biggest hurdle for mass adoption? Because so many people talking about mass adoption, it hasn't been progressing as we have expected. What can we do better?
The UX or UI is the biggest hurdle for mass adoption. This could be private key management, security, or even scammers. But once these things are improved, that I think that could be lower. Apart from that, we need killer applications apart from tokens. We have many tokens, but the tokens are mostly used for trading rather than being used in real life. So we need some killer applications that can be used every day or very frequently in our life.
How do you think that Web3 can compete with Web2 super app? Web2 super app like WeChat has everything. It is so easy, for example, to top up your mobile, to transfer fund, many applications there already.
It depends on how we approach the Web3 super app or environment for Web3. As an example, what we are trying to do is we have this mini dApp environment, but the mini dApp environment is not only for games. Currently, we have a lot of games on our platform. The games onboard users to Web3 because people like playing games. They can easily start playing games, but these games have some Web3 component. While playing those games, they can learn or experience Web3. Familiarized with Web3, then they can play others. We are planning to introduce different part of Web3 like a DeFi or digital identity and so on. We started the game to onboard more users, but once we have sufficient users, we are going to introduce different things in the same environment. Users can experience different content of Web3 in a single place. In that way, we can make a kind of Web3 super app. This could be similar to Web2 super app, but the focus is how people can enjoy or play in a single place. In that way, user don't have to leave. They can use tokens for payment, playing games, investing, and so on. Different things can be done in a single place. The environment might be different from Web2's super apps. Yeah.
How about stablecoin? I think stablecoin is a killer app of blockchain. Will your platform be offering a stablecoin so people can facilitate cross-border payment and remittance?
I agree. Stablecoin is one very good example of killer apps on Web3. On Kaia, at the moment, we don't have native stablecoin on our chain, but we are about to onboard the major stablecoin very soon, probably within a month. Once the major stablecoin is onboarded and then issued as a native stablecoin on Kaia, then we can introduce those stablecoins in the LINE Messenger or in other platforms. You can access those stablecoins for payment and remittance and even investment and so on. Stablecoin can make significant changes and make a lot of use cases.
That's great news. For Kaia, is it too early to talk about how Kaia generates revenues?
It's not too early. Our chain is new, but our history is not short. We have been working on our previous chains for a long time. We do have business models on our chain. We have two categories of revenue models. The first one is protocol revenue, and the other is the application revenue. Protocol revenue includes the gas fee because although we have fee delegation features, all the transactions have to pay gas fee to be processed in Kaia blockchain. And that's the baseline model of the protocol revenue. And the other part of this protocol revenue is the priority tip. The priority tip is used when you prioritize the process of your transaction in a block. So those priority tips are also contributing to the protocol revenue. We are also going to introduce MEV fee as a protocol revenue as well. So this kind of protocol level features or protocol level fees contributing to protocol revenue. And for the application revenue, we have a revenue share contract between LINE team and Kaia. The mini dApps portal is a kind of app store inside the LINE Messenger. Some portion of the dApp portal's revenue comes to Kaia Chain, as we can use it for ecosystem, foundation, and others. Also, some DeFi protocols, they contribute to the application revenue by giving some of their fees. We also get some profits from the liquidity provision. So those revenues coming from application level considered as application revenues. Combining these two, we have Kaia Chain business model or revenue models.
You have thought out the revenue model, and it sounds very good. I'm sure your protocol has been generating revenue since its launch.
Yes, but still our ecosystem and our chain are growing. The amount of revenue is not significant at the moment, but we try to increase the revenue by growing the entire ecosystem. I believe that once our ecosystem grows further, the entire revenue of our chain would be increasing as well. And then actually that revenue will contribute back to the ecosystem again. We want to have this kind of positive feedback cycle.
Since I'm based in the US and always try to understand the difference between Asia and the West, specifically the US, do you have any observations or insight about the difference of Web3 industry's adoption in Asia and in the US?
My observation between the Asian market and US or Western markets is, from my perspective, US market is more focusing on the technology. They believe good technology will bring users, generate revenue, and make adoption. In Asian market, we care about technology, but we care more about the use cases and adoption from using that technology. Because Asia has a lot of users, it's good to try some applications based on technology like a blockchain in market so they can go further in business. That's the major difference between the US market and Asian market that I have been observing.
I totally agree. That's also my observation. Another observation I will share with you and get your thought. In Asia, I see large Web2 companies get into Web3. For example, Sony blocks, they created Sonium and LINE and Kakao. They all get into Web3 pretty early on. But in the US, I haven't seen many large Web2 companies get into that, except maybe some payment. For example, PayPal, they got into crypto, got into stablecoin. Why are large Web2 corporations in Asia more open to Web3?
That attitude or interest is not only about Web3, but in general, Web2 companies in Asia are really interested in trying new technology. Web3 or blockchain is one of those new trials. The giants or Web2 companies are dominating player in countries or at least in their areas like content or messaging. Although compared to US companies, they are not leading the technology, they are leading the market and they have huge users in their services platforms. They want to introduce new technology or new services to their users. And again, Asia has a lot of users and people like trying new technology and new concepts that affects the decision makers of the Web2 companies.
That's very helpful. I want to switch to my last question, and it's a burning question I want to ask you because there are many L1 blockchains. Why didn't you just pick one, existing one, and use it? And why did you want to create a new one? Of course, through the merge of two previous chains.
In 2018, there were not many blockchains at the time. When both Kakao and LINE tried to find a good blockchain platform for their business, we are not able to find high-performing and reliable and sustainable blockchain at the time. So we decided to develop our own. That was the main reason because if you think about the mobile environment, I mean, responsiveness of the mobile apps is quite fast. If you have to wait for, let's say, 10 seconds or for a few minutes, the users on the mobile phones can accept that kind of long latency. We wanted to have a blockchain that can provide low latency and high performance and high reliability. That was the main reasons we developed our own blockchain. Since then, of course, the technology advanced a lot. Now, a lot of blockchains are providing high performance environment and very reliable performance, but even those blockchains cannot fulfill every requirement that we want to try with our users. That means we still need some features that don't exist in other blockchains or are still under development. We'd like to try different ideas and business opportunities with users. That's why we developed our own blockchain rather than using existing ones.
You mean even if you started today, you would still have to build your own chain because most of the chains cannot meet every aspect or every need of your business. Am I right?
Yes, if we start today, we might think differently because there are, a lot of chains. We can discuss together. Previously, we didn't have many options. So we had to develop our own. Because of that, we continue to develop our own blockchain and then advance our technology. But if we start again, our choice might be different. It really
Yes.
depends on the requirement that we want to have on our chain.
Especially if you need to serve mobile users, because mobile is so fast and you need high TPS. What is your TPS for Kaia?
I would say we had more than 4,000 TPS, but at maximum, we saw more than 8,000 TPS, the real number. Theoretically, we have about 20,000 TPS. Yeah. The theoretical number and the real number might be different depending on the environments. What I observed from our network was more than 8,000 TPS.
Very impressive. What is your goal to achieve in 12 to 24 months from now?
My goal is to onboard as many users as possible to our chain so we can provide them with varieties of Web3 services. My goal is to onboard 100 million users to our chain. So we can say we really achieved the kind of adoption of Web3. That's my dream. It could
Good.
be taking a bit longer, but yeah, that's my goal. Yes.
It's achievable, definitely achievable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sam. It's such a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it. I learned so much from you. Thank you for coming and joining me.
Thank you for inviting me. Enjoyed a lot, and I also learned a lot. Thanks so much, Coco.
Thank you for listening. Your support means the world to me. Share this episode with friends and family, and don't miss out on my newsletter, worldledger.substack.com, for the latest updates.